Okay, I'm really excited for this one. Welcome back to episode 5 of Between Realms, the podcast where we explore our favorite fandoms and how it shapes our society and influences our behavior. I'm your host, Carrington, and today we're diving deep into a very resonant topic, the impact of our attachment to fictional characters, especially for those of us grappling with mental health challenges such as depression, anxiety, trauma, PTSD, and abuse. All right, let's start by examining how fictional narratives play a crucial role in shaping our identities, particularly in our formative years. According to a study from Smith College, exploring these narratives can be powerful therapeutic tools for adolescents facing identity crises. During these turbulent years, many of us struggle with feelings of isolation and confusion. Fictional characters serve as reflections of our own experiences, validating our feelings and helping us navigate complex emotions. Harry Potter's a great example. His journey of self-discovery amidst all of that adversity resonates very deeply with a lot of people who have experienced bullying or feelings of inadequacy. When Harry learns about his unique place in the world, it mirrors the struggles many face in finding their own identity amidst external pressures. Furthermore, psychologist Kohut's theory posits that the development of a cohesive self is tied to empathetic responses from caregivers and significant others. So essentially, our caregivers or significant others serve as self-objects, which are mirrors to what you're experiencing to allow you to develop. But for individuals that come from not ideal backgrounds, like an abusive background, or somebody that felt like a black sheep in an otherwise seemingly normal family, or even somebody that really struggles to make friends in school. Basically, environments where validation is deeply lacking. Fictional characters can fulfill the role of self-objects, providing much-needed mirroring, idealization, and a sense of twinship. Characters like Frodo and Sam from Lord of the Rings exemplify loyalty and resilience, which allows readers to explore themes of friendship and support, which are crucial for healing and development. Now, let's delve into the therapeutic benefits of engaging with fictional narratives. Many people turn to fiction as a form of escapism, allowing them to step away from their own struggles, even just for a moment, and immerse themselves in a world that feels safe. Research indicates that reading fiction not only provides a sense of temporary respite, but also helps enhance our perspective-taking skills. When we connect with characters, whether it's Katniss Everdeen in Hunger Games or Tony Stark in the MCU, we often draw to their resilience in the face of adversity. These narratives inspire hope, showing us that overcoming challenges is possible even if the journey is fraught with pain. Moreover, reading has been shown to engage the same areas of the brain involved in emotional and cognitive processing. This creates a shared experience between the reader and the character. When we witness a character's struggle for loss, for instance, we might feel that pain very deeply. This shared emotional experience can be particularly therapeutic for those dealing with grief or trauma, allowing them to process their feelings in a safer context. As we follow a character's journey, our brain activates regions responsible for empathy, such as the anterior insula and the anterior cingulate cortex. I'm so sorry. These are critical for emotional awareness and processing social information. When we witness a character's struggle, our brains stimulate those feelings, creating a shared experience which can be incredibly powerful. However, this connection has a lot of complexities. As we become more entwined with these narratives, it can lead to a profound sense of empathy, making us more attuned to the emotions of others. In her work, Suzanne Keene discusses how literature can produce intense emotional identification, which, while beneficial, can also complicate our real-life interactions. While the therapeutic benefits of fiction can be profound, it's essential to recognize the complexities of these attachments. Over-identifying with a character can lead to blurring of boundaries. For those who struggle with mental health issues, this displacement can become a defense mechanism. Rather than addressing your own feelings, we project them onto the characters we love. Now, going back to the concept of having a shared experience with a character. For example, when reading Harry Potter and the character raises their wand, your brain actually actually activates as if you were raising your wand in real life. And what is so fascinating to me about the human brain is that it actually can't tell the difference between what you're reading, what you're imagining, what you're daydreaming about, and what's actually happening. Your brain is nothing more than a sensory input, and by putting it through something, even if it's a movie, even if it's a book, even if it's a maladaptive daydream, your brain is still experiencing these senses, almost as if you're experiencing the trauma yourself. Without boundaries, we basically get to a point where we can't tell where the character ends and we begin. Essentially, we get to a place where we become unable to differentiate between our personal real life issues and emotions and what this character is experiencing. Our brains cannot cognitively tell the difference between what we are reading and what we are really experiencing. So a character death that is close to the character that you have identified with could feel like losing a sibling to you. Without a barrier, you are exposing your mind to trauma, and a lot of our favorite heroes and heroines go through the truly unthinkable. People have been known to develop trauma responses to abuse they've never physically experienced themselves. Now, while these connections can foster empathy and understanding, they can also inhibit our growth. For those struggling with mental health issues, over-identifying with a character can lead to the blurring of boundaries. Displacement becomes a defensive mechanism. Rather than addressing our own feelings, we project them onto the characters that we love. For example, Daenerys Targaryen from Game of Thrones. Her tragic arc and the weight of her past traumas resonate with many viewers who have faced abuse or neglect. However, this deep connection can sometimes manifest in unhealthy ways, such as idealizing a character's journey or viewing the world solely through their lens. Now, this is particularly true in fandoms where intense emotional investment can lead to projection. Fans may begin to see themselves as saviors, mimicking characters' actions in their own lives. This can create very unrealistic expectations for ourselves and others. We often forget that fictional narratives, more often than not, offer up a neatly tied resolution that life rarely ever does. The concept of projection can be particularly problematic for those with PTSD. Associating traits of a character with someone in our lives can distort our perception, making it challenging to build healthy relationships. It's important to recognize when our attachment to a character may be hindering our ability to engage authentically with those around us. Now, fandom communities can be a double-edged sword as well. They provide a very supportive space for fans to share their experiences and feelings, often fostering a sense of belonging that individuals with mental health struggles crave and desperately need. Yet, these communities can also become an echo chamber where unhealthy attachments and projections flourish. Now, this is going to be very specific, but if you have ever come across an ACOTAR fan on Book Talk, you have either had a truly pleasant experience or you have met someone that is actually worse than Marvel and Star Wars fans. And if you are a Marvel or Star Wars fan, you know how much you suck. I know how much I suck as a Marvel and Star Wars fan. We're all well aware and we accept that fact, but they do not accept that fact, and they are dying on these hills and they're just overly attached to characters, and this creates intense cases of projection that run rampant through this fandom like absolutely no other. This may have to do with the narration type, as the POV allows us the ability to become our favorite character. Now, we're going to get a little bit more into the history of literature in a minute and how this has slowly evolved in our way of getting more and more in depth in these stories, and how we didn't always have stories in this first person narrative like this. Now, I really hope you can't fucking hear them back in. I'm gonna be so fucking mad. There we go. Now, because these emotions are deeply complex and usually misunderstood due to the age range of the fans, when these fandoms engage in discussions, the fans take it very, very personally. A simple critique on a character becomes an attack to them personally. Without understanding your own projection, you will, in a sense, subconsciously transfer all that is said about that character onto yourself. So even if you're just scrolling through TikTok and you see somebody say something about Farrah, and you take it personally when it did not have your name on it. It had nothing to do with you. It is about a fictional character. Now, while this phenomenon does occur in all fandoms, seemingly from my own experience and perspectives, All of these fandoms, aside from Sarah J. Maas fans, have been able to maintain the boundary of, I am consciously aware and I connect to this character because of my real life experiences, but they are talking to the character and not me, and I am only able to provide insight on this character from my own personal perspective. Severus Snape is my favorite example of this. You either love Snape or you absolutely hate him. But the thing is people that love Snape, when somebody says they hate Snape, they don't take it as a personal attack. They just defend the character because there is still separation between the character and themselves. Feyre fans will act like you did unspeakable things to their childhood pet right in front of them on the other. Now, while these books do have mature content in them, we should also be considering these first-person inner monologue narratives as literature that is appropriate for people above a certain age or emotional intelligence level. The exposure to this narrative has the potential cause of severe harm on a developing mind. Remember, trauma is defined as anything a person experiences that they do not have the ability to understand or process, which includes the exposure to complex emotions before your emotional intelligence has developed. Now, if you paid attention in English class, you remember anything from the history of literature, you may know that in a long time ago, back in like Shakespeare times, identifying or thinking that the person within the story that you're reading is a real person was considered like the stupidest thing that you could do. So anyway, as we get into the more modern form of writing, we start to get these first person narratives. We start to get more personality behind our characters, and now we're actually getting that inner monologue. So that is something that is significantly different from a lot of these things, that while we were still reading Harry Potter and that's still a first person perspective, that's not an inner monologue. That thing with Sarah J. Maas's, her books are that inner monologue. You can hear and see everything inside that character. You feel them. You can get closer to them than you ever have with any other character. And I think that that's what's really doing it for people. Now, given the complexities of our attachment to fictional narratives, it's essential to explore how we can harness these connections for healing. Engaging with fiction mindfully can offer profound therapeutic benefits. For individuals dealing with depression, anxiety, or trauma, fiction can serve as a mirror, reflecting our struggles while providing pathways to understanding. The act of reading can also foster emotional regulation, allowing us to process complex feelings in a contained environment. Characters like Elizabeth Bennet from Pride and Prejudice challenge societal norms, encouraging readers to question their own experiences and beliefs. This reflective process can be empowering, particularly for those grappling with self-doubt stemming from past trauma. Additionally, fiction provides a language for emotions that can be difficult to articulate. For many, identifying with a character's journey can illuminate their own feelings of loss, love, or fear, making it easier to engage in self-reflection. This process of understanding can be transformative, allowing individuals to move from a place of pain to one of empowerment. And I personally have a great example of this from when I was like 9-10 years old, and I have experienced depression for as long as I can possibly remember, because I remember being like 9-10 years old, somewhere around there, when I first started reading Harry Potter, and I remember being like, Mom, the Dementors, that's how I feel. The way this book describes Dementors, that's how I feel. I remember like we were like sitting in a car somewhere and she's like, what's wrong with you? What's wrong with you? And I was like, I feel like there are Dementors outside of this car right now. And she just like couldn't understand what I was saying. And I was like, it just feels like there are Dementors outside of this car right now. And it was a very frustrating experience for everyone involved. However, it's crucial to approach these narratives with a sense of balance. While they can be incredibly healing, it's essential to remain grounded in our realities and seek support when needed. Engaging with mental health professionals who understand the therapeutic potential of these stories can further enhance this process. I actually, in doing research for this, read this one, I dug it up somehow on the internet. This one girl, her like master's thesis was about how she was applying the use of fictional stories in her therapeutic practice, and how especially in adolescence, when there was this like one case where this little girl wouldn't talk to anybody, wouldn't tell anybody anything, and she was like, she's carrying the Hunger Games books, one of the three, like every single time she comes in, she's got one of them in her hand. Absolutely no variation, nothing else, always one of the 3 Hunger Games books. So they start talking about Katniss Everdeen. By talking about Katniss Everdeen, that woman was able to learn more about that child than anyone else was. By using this displacement in a positive way, you're actually able to help people talk about things. And even somebody who's older, this works too. Somebody with really repressed feelings really works with subconscious emotions. Even reading through these stories, it will in yourself, if you are somebody who is older and has any level of self-awareness, reading these stories will actually bring out that subconscious lens of like, wait a minute, let me look inside myself for a moment. That made me think of something. It's amazing what it can do. As we wrap up today's exploration of our attachments to fictional characters, it's clear that these connections hold immense power. They can be sources of comfort, resilience, and understanding, especially for those of us navigating the complexities of mental health challenges. As you engage with your favorite stories, consider how they resonate with your own experiences and how these narratives inspire growth and healing in your life. Remember, it's okay to lean on the comfort of fiction while also seeking the support of loved ones and professionals. Thank you for joining me on this journey today of Between Realms. I hope you guys found value in today's episode. If you did, please subscribe and share it with others who might benefit from our discussion. Let's continue exploring the intricate connections between our beloved stories and our own paths to healing. Until next time, keep reading, keep connecting, and keep growing.